We are live. Well, welcome back to Coffee at the Cove. I feel like we are on a 7-day cruise, you guys.
This is a lot of coffee.
We've been having so much coffee. The Cove is asking us to not come back. It's really intense.
We are going to get the free coffee from the little card.
Yeah, our coffee card is punched and ready.
And
Do they even do that still?
Yeah, they do.
Okay.
And to be completely honest, we should be calling it cocktails at the Cove at this hour because everything's been in the afternoon. So
that's true.
I don't have a cocktail though. I should have rethought. I should have thought about that differently.
That's true. So we've got to finish this up quick, Chris, before Pirate Night starts, so we get Christy to bed.
Right.
The puns, Steve.
I know. All right. Anyways, well, welcome back. My vision, and I think the three of ours vision of having Coffee at the Cove is one, to interact with you, the listeners out there. If anybody's out there, well, hopefully some people will show up tonight. And if you are
we sure it's streaming? By the way, I see that it's live.
It is streaming. It's live on Facebook. We have viewers. Lake Sprinkle is one of them. Lake from Lakeland. Sorry. And
my phone's not working.
We should tell people to say hi on there so we can say hi back to them. But yes, Steve, you were saying we want to interact with our listeners. This is a way to do that.
Yeah. So
it's also a way to be timely because, like, if news is hot off the press, we can be like, hey, everyone, let's talk about hot off the press news.
So if you're listening to this as a podcast the next day, it's also being streamed live on our Facebook channel and also on our YouTube channel. So if you want to catch us there, you can do that. But I totally understand why some people do not use Facebook. I know, Chris, you're a big Instagram user, and Christy's kind of all over the board. So we get a couple highs. Lake says hi. Lori from Ohio says hi. So my vision of Coffee at the Cove originally was to bring good news. And we have not talked about good news yet, have we?
Well, I blame 2020. The reason why we have not talked about good news yet is because 2020 is a dumpster and there is a fire. But this is good news. Today is a good news day.
So tell us why, Chris. You woke up this morning. It's kind of like Christmas when these days happen, isn't it?
I woke up this morning to a bunch of texts from you and Christy being like, look, mostly Steve, Christy being like, yeah. But to news that they had released the fall 2021 itineraries, which is cool because it shows that Disney Cruise Line wants to sail next fall. And we always like this. One, because if you're a Disney Cruise Line nerd, it's really fun to compare season to season and see what's changed. And two, you want to book on opening day if you know you want to go on that cruise, because unlike a lot of other cruise lines, Disney never gets cheaper. They only cost more. And so it's a good idea to book on opening day. The only time you can get cheaper rates is like military and Florida resident discounts.
Sometimes, those restricted rates at the very end that you have to pay in full. You can't even put on hold for one night. Can't make any name changes. Sometimes, but even those are not usually cheaper than opening day.
Right. If you know for sure you want to do a cruise, book it on the first day that your Castaway Club level will allow you to book it.
Yeah. So and let's just put this out since we're having this discussion. Poor Steve just wants to talk so bad. If you're booking any category but concierge, you can get a complete refund on your Disney cruise booking. If you're booking concierge, you don't get that money back unless Disney cancels, and you can just move the money forward. So if you're on the fence about it, you can consider it. And if you're considering it and have a Disney Visa but don't really want to shell out the money, you could throw it on the Disney Visa and have 6 months, same as cash, for no
zero
charge.
APR. Yeah.
Right. So
which is a good deal. It allows you to like get that cheap price, but have some time to think through what you want to do. And
get a job
I think
again, details.
Yeah. Right. See if there's going to be a second stimulus check.
Ooh, that'd be fun. So let's say hi to everybody really quick. Kristen from South Carolina, Jen Keller from Wisconsin. Hi. Katie's on as well. Sybil's watching, and then there were some comments like Lori can't wait to sail in April on the Dream after Walt Disney World Star Wars Rival Run Weekend. Hopefully all that happens.
Ooh, that would be fun to couple a Run Disney weekend with a sailing.
For sure.
I want to do that sailing after marathon weekend. Not going to be able to do it this
Yeah,
year, but next year.
not
I think
this
that would be
year.
cool.
Yeah,
So,
same.
Yeah. All right. So before we talk about this, go ahead, Christy.
Maybe that needs to be some sort of podcast cruise. We
Maybe
have to
it
start
should be.
thinking about that.
That
One
would
year,
be fun.
for sure, depending on Chris's child situation, we will do that right here.
Oh, yeah.
We're telling it to you here live at the Coffee at the Cove. Okay, Steve has been wanting to talk about the true intro probably for 5 minutes.
I just want to throw it this way. Like, okay, so there's usually how many releases per year, Christy?
4, right?
4. So which one's your favorite? Or do you have a favorite? Is there one that you look forward to?
3. There's 3.
I think there's 3. Yeah.
There's fall, summer, spring.
Oh, you're right. And each one is 4 months of sailings that they release at a time. Yeah.
So which
3.
one are you guys usually most excited about? Or do you care?
You know, so it's funny because I was the most excited for a while about the summer because I really like the double dip on the Dream to Castaway Cay. So there was like the one year I was going to do it and then they didn't have a double dip that year. So I was like, oh, I have to wait. So then the next year I stalked it. But winter is when we would traditionally always want to have a cruise. So then that one would be my favorite. But now they're doing these double dips in the fall that I'm excited about. Plus, Halloween for all you people who like that holiday. And then the Maritime Cruise, which is cute.
Chris?
I don't think I have a single release that I'm most excited for, though Christy can tell you that this was the release I had been waiting for because we knew we wanted to sail the eastbound Panama Canal.
You may have to sell something to sail on that.
Right. It's not a cheap one. Whereas the transatlantic is usually your best bet per night in terms of cheapness. The transatlantic is not too expensive because Titanic, but the Panama Canal is an expensive one. And we knew we would want to book it on opening day because, it would only get more expensive. But I mentioned, I think, on one of these Coffee with the Cobes that Steph and oh, no, it wasn't. It was on the Yosemite episode. Spoiler, we have an episode coming out about our trip to Yosemite. But for those of you who haven't heard it yet, because none of you have, Seth and I are in the process of adopting a human child. And we're so excited. But what that means is, who knows if we'll be able to sail 2 weeks on a ship in November of 2021. Doesn't seem like it might happen, but starting a family is really important. So one day we will sail that Panama Canal cruise.
So let's jump into this release, fall of 2021. And Christy, do you have the bookings in front of you as to when you can book yet before we talk about the itineraries?
Yes, next week. So on Monday, that is Monday, right? The 27th is the 27th Monday. Okay, so Monday, the 27th, Platinum can book. Tuesday's Gold. Wednesday is Silver, and then all guests are available to book on Thursday.
Wait, but Christy, you forgot because it's such a large part of the population. When can Golden Oaks book?
Golden Oaks.
I'm pretty sure Golden Oaks gets to book on the first day. Yeah.
And actually, DVC members get to book, I believe, on the Silver day.
They do.
Which is
so
cool.
Golden Oaks.
The 29th. Yeah, Golden Oaks gets to start booking on the 27th. Like, they're millions. They need to have the first, the cheapest price.
And Adventures by Disney Insiders as well. If you've been on an ABD trip, you can book. If you're not a Silver Castaway Club member, you can book on Silver Day as well, which is Wednesday. So,
and let me just tell you that even if you are one of those people, Golden Oaks, or I'm not entirely sure about Golden Oaks, to be honest with you, but and we're not editing this podcast. This is going to be a great day. DVC and ABD, if you are in one of those two categories, you can still book with a travel agent. So just keep that in mind.
So let's jump into the itineraries themselves. We'll just go by. We're not going to go down every single one of the releases.
Or every, so
I know. We're not going to go over every sailing, but if you have a favorite sailing, if there's something you guys out there want to go on, looks like Jen is looking at maybe one of those December Maritime cruises, the one that goes over New Year's. But let's talk about the magic.
Also, she told me, which is what made me laugh during one of the talking points. She's like, "Come on, Halloween's the best."
So let's look at the magic first. The granddaddy,
your favorite.
Yeah, well, you can't call it the granddaddy because the ships are always like a she. So anyway, so the magic will be over in Europe. She leaves Europe out of Dover on the 18th, and on that transatlantic, a little bit different, a little bit later in the season. Actually, she's been going a little bit later, it seems like, anyways. But they're going to be doing a southern transatlantic down through Spain, and then a stop at Bermuda before it heads up to New York. And then once it gets into New York, they do just those Bermuda sailings. Do you guys have any interest in those? I think they sound kind of cool. Where you go down, you get two nights in Bermuda, and then back to New York.
Is it 2 nights or 2 days and 1 night you stay over?
Excuse me, 2 days, 1 night. You're right. So
your napkin note had a typo.
A sleepover, at any location intrigues me because I like the idea of being able to come back to the ship whenever you want and like really immerse yourself in the city that you're staying in. And, you know, most ports, you don't get to do that. So I would try Bermuda if only to get to experience that overnight.
I've heard, I mean, you get the iconic New York Sail Away. So I think that would be kind of cool going by the Statue of Liberty. Then they have pulled back. They're just going to do the one Canada cruise as well, leaving out of New York up to basically like Bar Harbor, Maine, and a couple other places up there. And Jenny says, is it me or does a late October feel late for a Canada cruise? I was interested until I saw the timing. Yeah, you get a good point there.
Pretty late.
It is late. It could be really cold. It could be hot, but a lot of the leaves are going to be changed by then too, once you get further north, generally. So I would think maybe they could have swapped that maybe to an earlier sailing out of New York, but that's what we got. Then they have a repositioning cruise. So they're actually going down to San Juan on October 30th. So it heads down to San Juan. And then when it goes over to Miami from San Juan, it's just got one sailing out of San Juan over to Miami. It stops in the Dominican Republic for the first time at Puerto Plata. Any thoughts on that?
They've never stopped in Dominican Republic before?
Puerto Plata, I think, is the new stop. So
okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. And then after that, she does mostly just 5-night Western Caribbean sailings out of Miami. And there's the one-off is a 3-night Bahamian cruise in between Christmas. So that's what the Magic's doing. Any thoughts on any of those guys?
Standard. I mean, good.
Pretty normal. Standard. Yeah.
So
New York is an iconic sail away. Like everyone loves New York and that sail away. Although, was it 2 years ago or this last year, there was a big storm for several ships leaving out of New York, and all the videos that were coming out of the ships like rocking and really intense. I feel like the one thing you risk doing late season sailing out of New York is that the seas could be a bit rougher, and it's like you're booking it to get down there in 5 days and back.
Yeah, that is kind of like some things that we've heard over time is the seas can be a little rough leaving that first day or the last day out of New York. And also it can be a little cold sometimes as well. So until you get down to the Bahamas. Well, let's turn to the Wonder. The Wonder will be up in Alaska before she finishes her last Alaska sailing, I believe, on September 6th. And then she's got a 2 week off the schedule, September 13th to the 26th, which most likely is going to be a dry dock up there in the Vancouver area. So
yeah, if it's 2 weeks, it would definitely be a dry dock, right?
Yeah, I think they're getting her
one of them.
Yeah,
but usually it's 2, I think, right?
Yeah. Were there any DVC cruises announced in this? Are there any gaps that they could put a DVC cruise in?
If Christy, if you want to look that up, the DVC cruise got canceled this year, and I think they moved it like 2 years forward, didn't they? It's something, I think it doesn't go until 2022, so I don't think there is anything in 2021.
Interesting.
So, and then she positions back down to San Diego. You've got the one-off repositioning from Vancouver down to San Diego. And then a bunch of the normal, she does 1 7-night down to the Mexican Riviera, where you're going to be able to get down to, the one time you can get down to Puerto Vallarta and Mazatlan, besides on the Panama Canal cruise if they stop there. And then the rest are just Baja cruises down mostly to Cabo, 3, 4, and 5 nights, stopping at Cabo and Ensenada. And then there's no 2-night cruise. Chris from California did that 2-night last year, which I think that's kind of I think there's a 1-night cruise too sometimes. No.
I think the one nights are considered illegal now because those would be cruises that sail to nowhere.
Yeah,
and you have to stop somewhere.
I misspoke there.
So really quick before we move on to that, there is a member cruise in 2021, and it is in June.
Okay.
On which ship?
Western Caribbean on the Fantasy.
Oh, they do like to cycle through which ships get the member cruise. Like, I think the more recent one was the Wonder, the one that went and like repositioned to Alaska, I think. I really want to go on one of those. Seth and I aren't even DVC, but the gifts that they give you,
amazing.
And it's like a gift every day. I'm like, I would be a DVC member just so that I could get those special gifts every day.
Can't we get you on there? I think we can. So Steve or I, we could do that as a podcast cruise too. I mean,
that would be fun.
If you can get a spot on one of those cruises, which are just about impossible, unless it's on the West Coast, and those seem to sell a little bit slower. So we needed to come back to the West Coast. It'll be easier to get on.
Well, when the Fantasy gets here, everything will be fine.
That's true. When she home ports out of Los Angeles,
Long Beach, yeah.
Long Beach. She's just shaking her head. All right. Anyways, most of those down to Mexico are all Halloween on the high seas. And then she goes on that eastbound Panama Canal to Galveston. Chris, have you looked at that itinerary yet at all?
Yes, I have. And it's everything I wanted except for the Galveston sitch. I would prefer, just a personal preference, if it stopped in New Orleans as its final stop. And for a while there, I sort of thought in my heart that Disney might be neglecting Galveston for New Orleans because it's a city with more... just because Galveston is far from an airport. A lot of times the ship can't dock in the morning because of fog.
And then you can't leave.
Yeah, so then they have to push back the time that they leave. And, like, it's at like the very tip of Texas where there's nothing else around. Whereas if you're sailing into New Orleans, you're sailing up the Mississippi, you're in this like big party city. I just think it'd be more fun, but I get it. They can't always do that. Also, interestingly enough, they've already announced that Panama Canal cruise is a maritime cruise. And I don't know if y'all remember, but back in the day, they did not release these cruises saying that they were maritime cruises or Halloween on the High Sea cruises or Star Wars or whatever. But lately, at least with maritime and Halloween, they've released from day one saying this is a Halloween on the High Seas cruise. This is a very maritime cruise. And that Panama Canal cruise is the first of the maritime cruises on the Wonder. So I think that would be kind of pretty to see them like transition the ship over that 2 weeks from Halloween to maritime. But that's just me. I think I love that kind of behind the scenes decoration stuff.
I want there to be a Panama Canal cruise that like starts at Halloween and ends at Christmas, where they literally transition it overnight. So they have it set up for Halloween, and then guests go to sleep and Halloween's gone. And then the next night, or 2 nights later or something, guests wake up and it's Christmas.
Or you could just run with this. Jack Skellington, Nightmare Before Christmas, the whole way. No Santa, just Jack.
Oh, you lost me there. I was gonna say Nightmare Before Christmas for a day while they're transitioning between the two.
I can support
But
that.
then Mrs. Claus needs to show up and start giving out that hot chocolate because I swear cruise line hot chocolate is not messing around. It is
So-
Never
coming
had
for you.
cruise line hot chocolate.
So good.
So what you're saying, Chris, is you wouldn't get enough Christmas on that Panama Canal cruise. It would fit you perfectly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like it's always a gamble with the Star Wars or Marvel because they don't announce them the way that they do the Halloween and Maritime. But I think that they should move towards just announcing right away. I know that the reason they don't is because they get a booking bump when they announce. Like there'll be people who book these cruises that aren't yet Star Wars, and then they announce it's a Star Wars cruise, and they get a bump on people booking it. But you can pretty much guess if you're going on the Fantasy in the first 7 weeks of the year, it's going to be a Star Wars cruise. Like that's just how it works.
So
Yeah.
once the Wonder gets over to
Once it's sorry, Steve, like
Go ahead.
February or something, or the late end of January. But I don't think Star Wars is like the very beginning of the year.
Yeah, it's basically after the kids are back in school. They
Yeah,
want
after
to get those
marathon.
cruises.
Yeah.
Yeah. They want to get those cruises where the kids are like in school and it would have been a slow time for them.
So once the Wonder gets over to Galveston, she will be doing Western Caribbean and Bahamian cruises. And I love the fact that that is the one ship that stops at Key West. I don't know if you guys have a huge desire to go there. Anna Wake's stepdad always wanted to go there. So we are looking at one of those for, he died just recently, which,
It's like
yeah, I didn't mean to make it a negative.
we can't edit any of it.
I know. No, but to be honest,
And-
that's so we're looking at that to finally get a Key West and be on the
Yeah,
Wonder stop there and
To
spend a
like
day.
honor his memory and to do something he always wanted to do. I think that's super cool.
Yeah.
You should talk to me before you go because I've been to Key West and I have tips.
Well,
I
cool.
was in
And
the US this year.
we have an alternative vacation episode coming up about Key West as well. So I'll stand by for that one
Nice.
before the end of the year. So we'll talk about what is for anybody sailing to Key West. There's some things that you can do there. All right, should we jump over to the other ships, the big ships? You guys want to talk? we wanna
Dream
talk about-
and fantasy.
which one do you want
Let's
to talk
start
about
with
first?
let's start with Dream because it's usually a little more boring.
Okay. Dream, basically just 3-night, 3-night and 4-night Bahamian cruises. They do have a couple that have 3-night. There's 3-night cruises that have a stop at Castaway Key and a sea day, which I think that's kind of cool. So if you don't want to get a Nassau and you want to have that sea day instead, although a lot of people say that Nassau's a sea day. Let's see, November 5th, December 3rd, and December 24th. You could leave on December 24th and have a Castaway Key and a sea day on it.
I like it.
Yeah.
Wait, would you be in Castaway Key on Christmas?
That's,
No, you'd be at sea.
Oh,
I can't
well,
remember. I'd have to look it up.
I'm staring at it.
Okay.
it's still fun. It's still fun to wake up on Christmas morning on a cruise ship.
Right.
As someone who's never done that, so I don't actually know if it's fun, but I think it's fun.
So that's the Dream. Going over to the Fantasy, kind of the same thing. 7-night Western Caribbeans, Eastern Caribbeans, a couple different ones. The Easterns are mostly Tortola and St. Thomas. And Chris, why don't you tell everybody about Tortola?
Tortola is the best kept secret. It's so beautiful. It's so pretty.
Nobody
Guys,
told him.
we have recorded 3 days in a row, and I think we're just getting a little crazy.
It's fine.
And then what do we got here? We've got the 7-night, the Fantasy over Christmas leaves on the 19th. Your Castaway Key on the second day, and your last day you're at sea at Christmas. So that would be kind of a cool one too. I kind of like that one.
Oh, I guess it makes sense that they want to do at sea on Christmas so that people aren't trying to run around to ports and then stuff would be closed. I bet that was like consciously thought out. Well done, Disney.
Yeah, and then they've always got that big nice dinner too for Christmas Day as well. So
There are a couple of double dips on the Fantasy as well.
why don't you
there-
talk about those?
There's one on November 21st. I was going to be snarky. And then, I'm sorry. My God, we need to be editing this. Okay, so there's one on November 21st. That is a 7-night with the double dip. So that'll be over Thanksgiving, I presume. And then November 6th, there is a 5-night double dip.
On the Fantasy.
On the Fantasy.
They're just always doing those little weird 5 nights lately where it's like, huh? How do they get back on their schedule?
I don't know, because there's an 8-night, but it's earlier, but it's not. It doesn't lead up to it, so I have no idea.
That is weird. But I mean, a double dip is literally my dream. You know what my dream is?
A double dip on the Panama Canal.
Oh, that would be great. The Panama Canal doesn't even go to Castaway. Oh, it makes me sad.
Mine did.
But it's only if you're going westbound.
Well, right.
But what was I going to say? Oh,
anyway.
My dream future itinerary that's not possible yet is a stop that goes to Castaway Cay and Lighthouse.
Oh, well, that I hope will happen one day.
I mean, It's got to be like, I hope that it's just the norm. You get to go to both their private islands in one sailing, but maybe not.
They will be able to sell those. So hopefully there will be those will be the ones that are exciting to book and that you have to prioritize or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So you talked about the 8-night. That one stops at St. Martin. So some different ports, St. Martin, Antigua, and San Juan, plus Castaway Cay. So if you're looking to do something a little bit longer, you've got that one. That leaves October 16th. And then I was looking at Scott's, the Disney Cruise Line blog's website, and he's got listed October 24th as a 6-night TCM cruise, a chartered cruise. So I'm not sure how those work. Do you know, Christy?
They buy out the ship.
And they
Classic. Do whatever they want.
Yeah.
So and then if they sell them, so you have to buy them through that company. You cannot buy it through Disney or Booking Direct or your travel agent or any of that.
Okay, I have no clue as to how those sell out. As far as I'm guessing.
I'm sorry. Did you just say TCM is in Turner Classic Movie?
I believe.
So we're talking about like a cruise where you like go onto the deck to watch Casablanca on Funnel Vision.
Yes, and I think that's the voice you have to make to go on.
Yeah. Can I please watch Casablanca on the Funnel Vision? I don't know. That's not my jam. I would personally not be booking a cruise that was trying to de-Disneyfy itself. It's like a little odd of a choice. But you go Turner Classic, you do you.
Of all the coffee joints in all the world, you had to walk into mine, Chris. You had to walk into mine. Sorry.
I had to.
Wow, the puns this week, Steve.
Oh, just running with them. So what else do we got here going on? Jen loves Tortola as well.
Yes, Jen.
Key West as well. All that kind of stuff. All right. So those are kind of the overview. Obviously, you can go to Disney Cruise Line's website, take a look at there. Scott's got a good breakdown too. If you want to go over to Disney Cruise Line blog, he's got a good breakdown with maps as well. Christy, you kind of touched on this, but why don't you talk about cruise credits again? You ready for that?
Yes, I don't think we've talked about it at all yet.
Okay.
So I just wanted to point out a note to people. In the past, if you had booked through a travel agent or if you booked directly through Disney, you have to stay with that travel agent or Disney until you've gone on the trip. So if you move your money, you have to, whatever travel agent you had then, you're going to keep having. And the only exception to that rule is you can transfer them within 30 days of booking. So let's say you book directly through Disney, you can transfer it to a travel agent within 30 days. The difference is with these cruise credits. So if you have a cruise credit and you booked through a travel agent that you can't get a hold of anymore, like maybe there was a Travelocity issue and you had booked it to get some sort of benefit, or Costco or something where you thought you were going to get a benefit, but then Disney canceled all the cruises because the world imploded. And then you were like, okay, I am done wanting to use them as a travel agent because I couldn't get a hold of them, or I couldn't, I wouldn't want to wait on hold for 4 hours, any of those things. With cruise credits, the credit is basically yours to transfer and do as you wish with. So that is the one time that if you were booking with somebody and you want to book with somebody else, that you can actually transfer that money to book with another travel agent. So even if you book direct through Disney, or if you booked through ABC travel agency down the road that's not even in business anymore, or one of those big companies that you can't get a hold of us. So we just wanted to make sure that I pointed that out. The one thing to consider is if you are capable and if you are willing, consider using a travel agent. Doesn't have to be me, but use somebody to help support a small business, because right now travel agencies and small businesses are really hurting. The travel industry is having a hard time. And then you actually get the benefit of having someone to go to for questions, having the same person answer the phone. If you speak another language, then you use a travel agent that speaks that language. And anytime you call them, they're going to answer the phone and be able to speak to you in the language that you want. Or if you want somebody different and you want the same person every time, you can have that option with using another travel agent. So this is like a random golden opportunity to switch if there's money sitting out there and you want to use somebody else to book it. So we just wanted to make sure we pointed that out. Does that make sense?
Yeah, well said. Yeah. And I'll double down, since I'm not a travel agent. I can say that it's just a nice thing to do, because Disney doesn't need 100% of that money. If some of that money can go to support a small business that you literally the only thing you had to do was choose someone in your community or in your network who's a travel agent, you're just helping them out. And that's like a good Samaritan thing to do at this point with the economy being so rough. So I would highly recommend it. And honestly, going through travel agents has helped me, because sometimes they know stuff that you don't know.
And it doesn't cost extra, or most of the time it shouldn't cost you extra. Some agencies
almost
might
never,
charge.
yeah.
So for this type of thing, it shouldn't cost you extra. And if it does, they're going to tell you what you get for that extra.
Yeah.
So before we get out of here, a couple more things to touch on. The cruise date flexibility option, if anybody's been following that will not apply, at least right now, to these bookings. So that's when you can change your sail date up to 15 days prior to departure for any cruise. That's a cruise booked by August 31st, 2020, but it's only good for sailings through March of 2021. So just an FYI there.
It's not needed yet.
Correct.
No.
So
you can still cancel your cruise before your paid in full date and get a full refund on that. And if COVID is still a thing by the time paid in full comes, then Disney will have some extension, I'm sure, of this, because their hope is that the cruise industry will get back to booming as soon as COVID is over. And I think we all know that it might take some recovery time. And so Disney's going to want to keep those bookings and keep people feeling confident. So I wouldn't stress about that yet, at least.
And so let's just go over this one more time. For bookings, they will open up for Platinum members, Castaway Cay Club Platinum members, and Golden Oak on Monday. And then Tuesday is Platinum and Gold. And then Wednesday, Platinum, Gold, Silver, Adventures by Disney Insiders, DVC members. And if you have not sailed with Disney Cruise Line yet and are looking to book, your opening window would be on Thursday. And I think that's just about everything to touch on, other than the next dates for the early 2022 dates are probably going to come out. I mean, everything's up in the air right now, but probably somewhere around September, October timeframe. So before we get out of here, anything else you guys want to touch on, or anything else surprised you, or anything that we missed?
No.
Well, these dates are late, right?
Yes.
Oh, super late.
Yeah, so I think it's actually pretty probable that September, October won't happen. I bet you those dates get pushed back too a little bit.
Yeah, well,
because
part of it will be if they want money, because they could get the deposit money if they open the dates. But because this was so late, and depending on what is happening in the land of COVID, they might have to push it back.
Yeah, I guess let's see I bet you they're going to wait at least until the CDC makes recommendations for cruise lines to reopen, because the most recent thing that happened is the CDC continued the closure through the end of September, and Disney, at the same time as this announcement, yesterday, so the day before this announcement, extended their closures officially, right?
I'm not sure if it was yesterday or not, but yes, they've extended up to meet that time frame, and maybe just a little bit past, depending upon some of the sailings. So before we get out of here, I guess, Christy, do you got something to say?
I have something to say before we get out of here, because Chris has made a comment that needs to be pointed out, that he was like, wait, the TCM cruise does sound fun.
He backtracked on it.
Watching Casablanca on the Funnel Vision sounds fabulous.
You have to put it in context. Over in the chat that's happening on Facebook for you listening on podcast, Jen said, yes, TCM, they bring in old movie stars and onboard guest speakers. And I, the self-professed nerd, am like, oh, hold up, that sounds fun. So that's why I'm going to book the TCM cruise. It's going to be fine. I'm going to watch Casablanca on Funnel Vision.
I love it. Well, before we get out of here, if somebody is looking to book with you, Christy, how can they find you? Where's the best place to get a hold of you?
If you go to my blog that doesn't get updated very often, packyourpixiedust.com, it has an about section where you can get all of my contact information, including my phone number, potentially my email. I think it's actually a contact me page, but my email is christy@packyourpixiedust.com. Obviously, on the Facebook page, even for the DCL podcast, and Pack Your Pixie Dust has a Facebook page, has a Twitter page, and an Instagram page.
And if anybody out there is looking to bring Chris or I with, we are available to go on any of the cruises. I just want to let you know, though.
I go.
You're going to be busy.
If someone's paying for us to go on cruises.
You're too busy booking other people's cruises.
Oh, well. I mean, if someone's paying for my cruise, then I can buy more internet. So I'm going to stay in contact.
Well, yeah. And if you are thinking about bringing Chris or I with on the cruise, I just want to let you know that Chris is pretty tall, so he's probably going to have to take up that main bed. But I can fit on that goofy little bed that's over in the family 5-person veranda, and you won't even know I'm there. So
you wrote that down.
I didn't. I just came up with that. So the deluxe family ocean view stateroom with veranda, I'll fit on that little bed. Chris will not. So there we go.
No, don't even try it.
All right. Well, thanks, you guys. This is always fun to meet up at the Cove and talk about something fun for once. So
let's just say real quick before you say goodbye that if in fall 2021 we are still not cruising, it's definitely going to be cocktails somewhere.
Cocktails at the Cadillac Lounge.
That's right.
There we go. Well, thanks everybody for listening. I will say goodbye. I'll let Christy say goodbye. Thanks for all you guys do supporting our podcast, coming back and listening every week. And I will give a little shout out for our next episode. Hope everybody enjoyed the look back at Alaska, Jessica's wonderful sailing to Alaska. And next week we're gonna keep the holidays rolling with a little Christmas in July. So I'm pretty excited about this episode. Christy, you remember recording it. It was quite a while ago.
It was quite a while ago.
But I think you guys are going to love this one. So get out the Christmas decorations before next week's podcast, because we're going to throw it back to last Christmas, and just a pretty amazing episode on that one. So once again, thanks for everybody coming back and taking a listen, and we'll see you next time on the DCL podcast. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
The DCL podcast is not affiliated with the Disney Cruise Line, Walt Disney Company, Adventures by Disney, or Run Disney. All of the opinions expressed on our shows are those of the hosts and the guests who appear on the show. If you have any questions about any of these products, please contact the Walt Disney Company.